Hoop Dreams, the podcast, an Unlearning Network production.
Joining us today on the Hoop Dreams podcast, straight out of Linden, New Jersey, a Kansas Jayhawk, alumni member of the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame. Not one number, but both numbers been retired at Linden High School and at Kansas University.
2 times.
Member of the 1997 inaugural. That means first, if anybody don't know what that means, the first WNBA draft class, FIBA World Champion, a 2-time WNBA champion with the LA Spark, got one of the coldest pimp walks in the game, a 3-time WNBA All-Star, a WNBA, according to me and Agee and others in the world. She's an OG. We want to welcome to the show Tamecka Dixon to the Hoop Dreams podcast. I'm Will Gates. That's my dog.
Arthur Agee, and we in the building.
Yes, let's do it, guys. Thank you.
My goodness. Well, this special. This is special today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Tell my man, me and my dog, when was the first time you watched Hoop Dreams? And where were you? And were you with anybody?
I remember it coming on, and I just remember sitting watching it. And it was you guys' story, but it just seemed like a lot of the parts that you guys were talking about and speaking on, it was every kid's dream across the country at the time. And I just remember just being enthralled in it. Like, I actually just watched it again probably about 5-6 months ago. So like, it's just it's embedded in me. That story is embedded in me, and you guys, man, yeah, it was like a cult following, and everybody I remember everybody just talking about that. So yeah, it was incredible to watch you guys' journey.
I'm 48, finna be 49. You know, you
ain't gonna tell my age. My grade speak for itself.
Tell us, how did you fall in love with the game? Who put that ball in your hand?
Definitely. So my dad, he was actually a big time hooper coming out of high school. He got a full scholarship to attend American University, and actually coming out of high school, he wasn't really heavily recruited. But his first year in college, he was, leading the nation in scoring, all of that. So he made a huge jump from, senior year in high school to freshman year in college. But he was the guy for me. He, just watching him, and I was little at the time. My parents had me when they were 17. So his senior year, I kind of was born. And so I kind of watched, all of that develop and grow. And he would come home, from college. I remember him taking me to the gym and just me running around and, just falling in love with it then. And at the time, you really didn't know what it was going to be. But I just knew I was with my dad, and I just loved the ball. So he kind of kept it around me, kept it close to me. And that's kind of how I, started to fall in love with the game.
I'm so glad you said that, because you was birthed into the game. Yeah. And that actually leads to this question, because, Agee and I, we like to do our podcast a little bit different. We like to know the origin story. So tell us a little bit about your hometown, New Jersey. How big was your family, brothers, sisters, anybody else ball in the family?
So I'm the oldest. So I'm 13 years. I have a 13-year age difference between me and my second sibling. So I pretty much grew up by myself. But I grew up in a huge family, a lot of cousins, aunts, uncles. So what we did, growing up, we all hung out, all got together. But I had a crew of cousin hoopers, basically. I was the only girl. And so, they just kind of brought me up. That's kind of how it grew. We back then, it was all about playgrounds. You hit the playgrounds, you play all day out there. So, we go with our 5, how that go. Go with your 5. If you lose, you might not never see the court again. So
That's
you
right.
playing.
That's right.
That's how it is, and that's kind of like how I developed. That killer really, that killer
Wait a
instinct.
minute. Wait a minute. She telling us she the only girl with the cousins going to the
Oh
park,
yeah,
Will.
only
Come
girl,
on. Like
only
what?
girl.
And you wasn't afraid. Like you was like, oh, I may get hurt playing with these bigger guys. Like none of that was in you.
None of that. And you know what? It started with my father. When he was playing the pro-am circuit when he would come home because he played overseas and stuff. He'd come home, and he'd play playground ball. That's what it was back then. And he'd pick me up, and I play with him and his guys. And
Wow.
you know how it is. They like the girl who gonna guard the girl, who gonna do this. It was like that. But then when I hit
Right.
that first jumper, then they want to start playing all hard and stuff. So that's
Uh-huh.
That's
kind of
right.
how it
That's
was. And it kind of went that way probably throughout my whole childhood. Once they seen that I could really hang, it wasn't no problem.
Right.
But talk about them cousins a little bit more because a lot of people don't understand, and I just got to go a little cultural on this.
Yeah.
People don't understand the roles that cousins play in our life. They're more like brothers and sisters. Talk about them cousins.
Them be your first competitors.
That's it. With my cousins, we would all, and it was a bunch of us, we were all around the same age. So we would kind of just be competitive amongst each other at the park, 21, play 31. And you know how them games get.
Right.
Then we just got tired of doing that, then we start playing, start trying to figure out, well, who, Tuesdays and Thursdays they play here, Monday, Wednesday, Friday they're here. So we started hitting that, the outside courts and just going to the court, all the cousins. We got our 5, we just sitting out there, and it'd be like, when you get there, you got to wait 2, 3, 4 games to even get on. But we waiting. The guys in the community really embraced me. They kind of let me rock out with them. And that's how I got good.
So give us some name of them playgrounds y'all was coming to.
So in Westfield, there was a court called Tameckas Park that everybody went to. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays in Westfield, they had open gym from 7 to 10. And that was kind of like my father's era. So, but them games, it was 2 courts. Open court started at 7, but you better get there at about 6:15.
That's right.
Right.
So yeah, it was really, really competitive. So Tuesdays it was at Roosevelt Middle School, and then Thursdays was at Edison Junior High. But them games, it'd be 100 guys show up, and it's from all over the county. So it wasn't just in town talent, and it was so much talent back then. It was just a lot of like really good guys.
Tamecka, what I tell people today is sometimes like that, like it's totally different from playing on an inside gym than outside because like you said, you got to get up there early. And the reason why you going to play so hard I'm talking about balls going out of bounds, you finna run hard to try to save it. You finna guard this dude extra hard because if you lose, you ain't getting back on for a minute.
You might as well take your stuff and go. It's over.
That's right.
Right. Like
it's over.
Taking that into a gym and onto a high school team, a college team, like it was just that I think that helped us.
Yeah, absolutely.
That playground, man.
Absolutely. That
playground builds you.
Yeah, it builds
you.
And it's and most of the time it's older guys you playing against. So you know what I mean? It's an older crowd. So they ain't going light on you.
You know the rules. No blood, no foul.
That's it. They build you up.
Yes, and you know what? The thing is, the older dudes, they gonna play so hard on you because they like, I ain't in no college or nothing like that, but I'm finna show you, I used to ball back in the day. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know nothing about me. My name, Big Willie.
That's it. Everybody got that story. Everybody got that story.
Everybody on the court, you got, you got to earn a nickname.
Yeah.
What was Tamecka Dixon's nickname? What did they call you on the court?
It's funny. I had a few. But the one that kind of
Oh,
stuck
drop
with
them.
me.
You got to drop them for us. You got to
Yes,
drop them
yes, you
for
got to
us.
give us
Come
all
on.
of them.
In my LA Sparks game, they used to call me Tippy Toe. I don't really know how that developed. I used to cross, my signature move is a crossover. So I
Yes,
don't
it
know how they got
is.
tippy. I don't know how they got tippy toe. How that happened, but they just used to say I used to tippy toe around defenders. I guess I don't know how it went, but yeah,
Yeah.
tippy toe is the latest one.
I could go with
Crazy,
that one because I watched your game and I watched you come off for several of them screen and
yeah.
rolls, and how you come off of there, you will be up, but you will be
Oh
on the
yeah,
ball of your feet. You'll be on the
yeah,
ball of your feet so you can get ready to whoop that thing.
And
Yeah.
here's the thing too. I want to give credit where credit is due too, because what they don't give you a lot of credit for was you really are kind of one of the originators of the one hand off the one leg move too. They don't give you the
yeah.
credit for that. But we talking about the 90s. You was doing that.
Yeah.
It's popular now,
I
but you
appreciate
was
you.
exposing that in the 90s. I'm like,
Yeah,
Tamecka
yeah.
was riding that thing hard already. But I got to ask you this. So I know you're playing against the guys. Were there any female athletes, any ladies that you said, you know what, man, I need to ball with them too? Was there any competition out there for you?
Not until really, truthfully, not until I got like when I started to hit that AAU circuit is
Mm-hmm.
when I started to see kind of like the higher level females.
Mm.
But it wasn't really until I got into college that I was like, okay, you know, these girls could go.
Wow,
I really
wow.
started to, but in high school, I didn't really get that. And at the
Mm.
time in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of like big time college basketball games televised. You
Right.
really didn't see it that much on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't really until I got to college that I really, started to respect a lot of women around the league, around the world,
Mm-hmm.
playing this game.
Wow.
Yeah.
So playing AAU, what was it? Was it any of those D1 females that was going to D1 colleges that you played against? And then once you got into college, you're like, oh, I remember her. Like,
Yeah. That's when I started to put two and two together because, my sophomore, junior years when I started really, my father wouldn't let me play AAU ball. He just
mm,
didn't believe in it. He was like, whatever you're gonna get on the AAU circuit, I could give you here. So,
mm.
the
That's a
AAU,
real hooper dad there.
yeah,
Damn.
yeah. So the AAU coaches had to really come in and try to convince him,
uh-huh.
that was the way. And he said, "Okay, I'll let her play, but I ain't paying for shit." That's kind of how
I
Wow.
love
My
it.
man.
he was
I
like, "I
love
ain't
That's
it.
paying
my
for
man.
nothing."
I love it.
My
So
I love it.
man.
yeah, so that was kind of like how it's how the AAU how the whole thing started. But it was and you guys know even back then it was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
Now you turn every corner it's the AAU team. Back then
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was probably like maybe four or five AAU top AAU girls programs in the state,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to compete with those 4 or 5 teams to even get a chance to play national. Go to
Right.
the nationals or get that invitation to the nationals. So it was a little
Mm-hmm.
different back then, but I think it was a lot more competitive because the opportunities were only for few, you know.
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of like my introduction to AAUs. But when I first got on my AAU program and then we got invited to nationals was when it opened my eyes. I was like, these
Mm.
girls, these these girls could go. And then it was
Mm-hmm.
like, once I finally got, started getting the publications and, started
Mm-hmm.
getting, my name in the magazines and things like that. Then I started putting two and two together, like, okay, I remember her from AAUs and this and that. And
Mm.
it kind of grew from there.
But since the
Man.
women's game hadn't grown to the level that it's at now, like
Hmm.
who were you watching coming up? Were there the NBA pro guys, college guys? Where were you finding inspiration at?
Yeah, so it was mostly guys coming up. My father was a huge Laker fan. So I
Mm.
just remember, I remember watching a lot of the Lakers of the 80s, Magic, Coop,
Mm-hmm.
Byron Scott.
Mm-hmm.
those guys. And then when I finally started getting like heavily recruited, I started like started to look at some of the girls, coming up. Andrea Stinson out of North Carolina State was big time for me.
Yes.
Dawn Staley at Virginia at the time.
Yes.
But it wasn't even Dawn that Dawn was a baller. She was a hooper. She was the girl. But her backcourt mate, Tanya Cardoza, was the one that I really, really liked. So yeah, but it was, it wasn't until probably my junior year in high school where I started to look at, other girls and say, start to really pay attention to their games.
Wow. So tell us about Linden High School. Where is it at in New Jersey? What type of area? How was it going there?
Yeah, so it's an urban area. Nice town though. City, considered a city. And we're about 35 minutes from New York. So we sit in kind of like central Jersey. Our high school team was tough.
The girls and boys?
Girls and boys. I don't know if you guys know Wally Dixon, main event. He was on the AA1 and one circuit.
Yeah, we know main event.
Yes.
So he went to Linden. Everybody thought we were brother sister, but we weren't. It was just a coincidence. But he was at Linden at the time that I was in high school. So the boys team was also a pretty good team. A lot of talent come out of Linden. A lot of talent. But it was a good town to grow up in. Had a lot of fun. Yeah, and developed a lot of lifelong friendships along the way. So yeah, it was cool.
Who was y'all rival in high school? Because I know that New Jersey area breeds a lot of basketball players out of there.
And then back then it was so much talent on the boys and the girls side coming out at the time. But rivals of ours was we had a Catholic school, Union Catholic. They was a rival of ours. Clifford Scott out of East Orange was a rival of ours. Piscataway. A lot of towns with just a lot of talent, man. And in Jersey, you could win the state championship and then continue playing. So we would win. There was different groups. You have group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, all grouped according to the size of your school. So we were group 4, which was the biggest at the time. And then once you won a state tournament, they had what you call a tournament of champions. So they put all the champions together and you compete to play, against all the group champions for the ultimate title. So yeah, it was a fun time. We never won the tournament of champions, but we were 3-time state champions.
Wow.
And always got upset when we got.
I know that's right.
You know how it is. You start feeling that victory, and it's like.
Now, where would y'all play them state games at?
Always at colleges, universities, Rutgers, Monmouth College, and all the tournament of championships would be at like the Meadowlands, where when the Nets were in New Jersey. That's where they played at the Meadowlands Arena. So we would play our Tournament of Champions game at the Meadowlands.
What was that moment for you when you said, you know what? I arrived. Take us to that moment. Was it a game? Was it a practice? What was that moment you like, ooh, I'm the real deal?
Yeah. So my signature high school game, I think this was when I knew it was going to be about something. It was the state sectional championship game. So it was the quarterfinals. We were playing against Clifford Scott High School, who had like 3 or 4 D1 players. At the time, we were good. It was myself, and 2 other girls that brought the heat. Simone Gilliam and Rakia Johnson were my sidekicks. And we played against Clifford Scott. They were I think number 1 in the state at the time. So they were projected to beat us. And that, I got to give you guys like the backdrop.
Yeah.
So so that game, I was actually late to the bus. The bus left me. So, my ego was like, oh, the bus left me. I ain't playing in this game. And my uncle was like, oh, hell yeah, you are. You better get in this car. We going to the game. So I get to the game late, team warming up. They all mad at me because I'm late. I'm like, oh, Lord. So that was probably the best game, best high school game I had. We were down 15, 16 points at the half. Everybody thought it was going to be, we were going to be over. It's going to be over for the season, all of that. We came out in the second half and we put a show on.
What you dropped?
I dropped 38.
Ooh.
I don't even remember. It was like 38, 18 rebounds. I had like 5 or 6 blocks. I mean, it was crazy. And the thing is, in the first half, because I had gotten early foul trouble, so I had to sit a little bit in the first half. I remember I played with like 4 fouls for like a quarter and a half.
So Agee, let me give it to you what she just said. She said, I scored 8 points in the first half and dropped 30 on them in the second half. That's all I heard.
That's it.
Pretty much. That was the game, I think, that was the signature high school game where I was like, I started to really get that recognition.
Now, what year was this?
That was my junior year in high school.
Junior year.
That was my junior year, yeah. So that was it.
When the recruiting started coming in at that point too?
So I started getting heavily recruited really my sophomore year, but I think I had really arrived my junior year. Sophomore year was still kind of fresh and new, and I was trying to figure things out. Junior year is when I kind of was like, okay, this is real.
That confidence went to another level, huh?
Yeah, for sure.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that story and you said you was late for a game.
Yeah.
My dog over here was late for a game too. In the movie.
Listen, here's what's crazy. Here's what's crazy about that.
Here's what's crazy about it. Look, here you go.
I always tell people, I wasn't late for the game, but you know how you got to be in the locker room at a certain
Sitting
time?
down with your uniform on.
You got to be in the locker room by 6:15. I got there at 6:30. The game was at 7:30.
Okay. Well, Pingator wasn't having that.
No, he wasn't playing.
He wasn't having that.
and here's the crazy thing to me. After the game, after we lost, he said, maybe I should have started you. So how competitive were those high school games? Because, there's the women's game has changed so much. Your game was so much ahead of the curve that like I was watching your highlights and I'm just going like, man, the women's game, it was back then more so, it was so structured, so mechanical, but that was never your game.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
How do you feel about the competitiveness of the game and how it's changed?
I love it. I love it. Oftentimes we try to think about, us and our games and how it fits in today's time. We always do that. I really feel like, I was kind of ahead of my time. And I think it was attributed to, just, playing with guys and, having that, that whole aspect and what that brought to my game. Cause I was a lot more flashier, than a lot of girls that you see, or saw back then. I had a college coach that supported that. So she allowed me to kind of grow and develop that way. I think the times, in today's time, I would fit right in, as far as what my game was back then and how it would fit into today's game. I think, I definitely would.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
So let us know about their recruiting schedule. I mean, how them people was coming at you? What schools was after you? Like how it come down to that school behind you in that case, one of the blue bloods of college basketball.
Oh yeah.
Who was recruiting you?
So,
my list only had two schools.
Yeah, everybody, like anybody you can think of. I
Rutgers,
remember, yeah,
you right
Rutgers.
in their backyard. I know Vivian Stringer was on you.
Yeah, so at the time, Coach Stringer was at Iowa, and she had
Mm,
built Iowa was a powerhouse there when she was there, so she was recruiting
right.
me at Iowa.
Mm,
But I had like all the major, Tennessees, the UConns, the Georgias, any
hmm
SEC school, any ACC school,
Did you
UCLA,
take all your
USC.
visits? Did you take how many visits you have?
I took 5. I took
Damn, your
5.
greedy butt. Damn.
She said, I got them all in.
Damn.
But Kansas was my fourth, I think my fourth visit.
hmm
And I knew when I left that campus that that's where I wanted to be. But I felt like
Wow.
I owed it to that last coach to at least show up and give it an opportunity. But
Mm.
I knew I had 30 home visits, 30 home
Mm,
visits,
wow.
my
What?
senior year. Yeah. And me and my dad, my family broke it down to like 10. And then from there we selected 5, to go visit the school. And then yeah, it was a crazy time. But I remember back then I kind of wanted to get it over with early. I wanted to go into my senior
hmm
year like kind
Yeah.
of free of that. So
Yeah.
I committed early to Kansas so I could do that. But up until the time that I actually signed the papers, it was still
hmm
colleges like, showing up at my high school.
Wow.
It was crazy. It was
Damn.
crazy.
What was your 5?
My 5 was it was Kansas, Iowa, Michigan, University of Houston, and Georgia. And
Wow.
I,
Wow.
Wow.
it's funny, 4 out of 5 because I wanted to play for a black coach.
Mm.
So that was like a thing for me back then. But I
Mm-hmm.
had one coach that was not black, and that was at the University of Georgia because I really like Andy Landis. But the rest of the
Mm.
college coaches that I selected were all black women.
So you ain't throw no love New York way, huh? None of those schools up that way, huh?
Right.
I mean, they were recruiting me, and I went on unofficial visits to like Rutgers, Seton Hall, St. John's, just the local schools that I can actually get to without
And
having
not only that, but you're not that far from Philly. They
not that
didn't.
far,
Yeah, did
Yep.
they
not that
grab
far.
you? I mean, they
Temple.
got some. Yeah.
Temple, yeah, Temple, all up and down the East Coast, Virginia, all up in Maryland, all up and down the East Coast. But I didn't want to stay close to home, so a lot of the in-state schools knew that. They knew
hmm
I was out. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it was crazy, interesting times.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit
Interesting time.
about why you didn't want to stay close to home. Like I hear a lot of athletes say, you know what, I needed to get away. What was
hmm
that for you?
It was for me. It was just growing up. You know,
Mm.
when you're close to home, you always got that kind of like that safety net. And I knew I was gonna have that going away too. But I think if I would have stayed in state like maybe Rutgers or something like that, it's just easy for me to get home. 20
Mm,
minutes from home,
hmm
I could just, I didn't want that. I wanted to kind of get away, kind of figure out if I could fly, what I was going to do. And so that was kind of like my reasoning. Just wanted to grow and develop and see if I would, actually fly or fall flat on my face and what that looked like. What I would have to do to get back up.
Either way,
That's
you was
what's
winning
up.
though, because I
Yeah.
mean, even if you would have failed, you were still winning. I
I would have
mean,
failed forward. Yep.
that's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you end up committing to the Jayhawks.
hmm
Why did you choose to go there? What was the deciding factor?
So Marion Washington, who was the college coach there at the time, was definitely the deciding factor for me. At the time, she was considered like the dean of Big Eight coaches.
Mm-hmm.
hmm
At the time, we were the Big Eight. We eventually moved into the Big 12, but she was the dean. Just a powerful Black woman. And she came into my home and like, you know, my whole family fell in love. We all fell in love with her. So
Wow.
she sold the family first. And it was like, you know, I think my parents were comfortable with her and knowing that if I had chosen Kansas and choosing Kansas, that, you know, I would have somebody that I can kind of rely on and have like a mentor ship type of relationship with her. And to this day, I still speak with her at least once or twice a month.
Wow.
So yeah,
So dad was sold? I mean, like right away? Because, you know, dad
right away.
like, hey, that's my baby girl. I done taught her the game. I ain't buying the bull crap from you. But dad was sold right away.
He was sold. And it's funny because Georgia was my first visit, right? So Andy Landis was kind of like a salesman. Like he sold the hell out of me on that trip. When I left Georgia, I was like, I'm going to Georgia. My dad was like, ho, no, you're not. Like, you know, I want you to take all your visits. You're going to see a lot more. And I'm glad like he slowed me down because he sold that program to me. When I tell you he sold it, he sold it. So it was hard for me to kind of like detour off that, but she did a phenomenal job. Her and her staff came in. Coach Brown, Coach Mahood, Coach Takasa, all my coaches made me feel comfortable. And then when they got me on that campus, just a team. You know how you go somewhere and you feel like you belong there. That's where you belong.
Right.
That's what happened when I got to Lawrence, Kansas. I felt like that was home. So I knew right there, you know.
Was it somebody there that you had to beat out a spot? Was it you knew I'm going to be starting when I get there?
I didn't know. I was an All-American coming out. And I knew Kansas was a program. It was always a perennial top 25 school, even before I got there. So I knew it was a program that was kind of on the rise. And that was another thing. I didn't want to go to a UConn. I didn't want to go to a Tennessee. Like I wanted to go somewhere where I could go to a program and help them get to that next level. That was my thing. Kansas was perfect in that way. They had 2 years before me, they had brought in Angela Aycock out of Dallas, Texas. She was a high school All-American. Then the following year, you bring in Cherie Sampson from Los Angeles, also an All-American. So they were like moving up, bringing in all of this top talent. I was that next, big time recruit to come in, and we took the program up to another level.
Wow.
So I knew, I really knew that Kansas, that I belonged there, and that's where I needed to be.
That was the place.
That was it.
Take us back to that first day on campus, because there's nothing like it, What was it like,
Yeah, it really is not like it. And I remember when the first day we got to Kansas, you go through the orientation and stuff. All the older players, that have been there, like, yeah, we gonna, they were like, we gonna hoop later on, we gonna play a little bit, just some pickup. Like, all right. So, I'm thinking big time high school play, ain't nothing I ain't seen. I'm going into the gym all confident, cocky, and we playing. And the first time I drive to the hoop, girl by the name of Lisa Tate, one of my teammates, she threw my shit into the first bleacher. It was the first time I ever got, like, girls don't block my shot like that.
Right.
I might
Not like
get it
that.
thrown by a guy, but that was like my wake up call right there. I was like,
wow.
like I'm here now. So yeah, that was like my welcome. All right, welcome to Kansas, freshman. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but it was that euphoria of just being new on the campus, and all of the newness and the freshness, and you just trying to fit in and figure everything out. I think first day was kind of crazy. And then you kind of get settled in a little bit, and then you're just trying to figure out how to manage your time as a young student athlete.
What was your major?
Psychology. But in the beginning, I didn't have a major. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and where I wanted to, and even today, I still, I have my degree, but I wish, in hindsight, you look back and you like, I could have, I should have did A, B, and C, but back then you just a young kid, you're like, whatever.
Right.
Whatever.
And Will, people used to change their majors every year. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I'm a radio and television major. I'm going to be a psychology major next year. They change them all the time.
Well, you can do that when you're spending other people's money.
That's right. Exactly. Thank God for that.
I know that's right. You know what? It's interesting to me because we were almost could have been fellow Jayhawks.
I know you was close.
Yes.
SP Sean Pearson is my boy, so I know y'all were kind of close in high school.
Yeah, that's my
that
dog.
was my guy.
He was trying his best to get me there.
Yep.
We actually, it's interesting. We went on all our visits together, so it was a beautiful campus, and I understand that selling point.
Yes.
Where you like, I'm going. That's it. And when I got back, they did the same thing. My brother was like, that was only the first visit. Calm down.
Does the women get just as much love as the guys do on campus?
So we started to develop that, I think, during my years. Because the men's program, so storied. Just the amount of talent that's come through that program and the amount of success that it's had. So we were always trying to get that same type of recognition. I think we took a step forward, during my years. We started to kind of get a couple sold out games at the field house and stuff like that. So we tried to turn the tide a little bit. And then our success, obviously, we were winning. Everybody likes winners. When you lose and they don't care about you, but when you win and they'll come and show up.
That's right.
So
that's right.
we started to turn the table a little bit. Not to the men's level, but I think we gained and garnered a little bit of respect during my years.
Talk a little bit about the transition going from high school to college, just from that perspective, because everything is different. Books are different. Teachers are different. The atmosphere is different. Talk about that transition and how was that for you?
So like you said, everything is different. The biggest thing for me, and I think I touched on it a little earlier, was the time management piece. Because you kind of got to figure out, like, it's like everything is kind of like scheduled out for you. You wake up, like we had preseason condition at 5 o'clock in the morning. We get home, we get showered. Yeah, you get breakfast, and your first class is 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and you from 9:30 to 12, you in class. Then 1 o'clock, you got weights, and then it's just like you got to fit your study schedule in, your tutoring schedule, and it was pandemonium for me. That was what was the biggest thing for me. Just trying to figure out the time management piece, because in high school it was all you kind of on your own schedule, you just figure it out. But college, it was like a job. It became a real job, and you better be there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The sooner that you can kind of grasp that, figure that part out, the easier the transition to be for you. But for me, it was tough. That first month or two, trying to figure that out, it was crazy. And then you want to, you want to show up and be your best, but it was like crazy.
Yeah.
We got there at 11 o'clock. We went to some freshman orientation thing, but by 2:30, I was guarding Alvin Robinson of the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, it ain't no joke. And just that, and again, you talking about that time management piece. I think for me, the time management piece was I was just trying to find some time for myself.
You still kind of want to have the college experience and do that. So, I'm still trying to do that and get to the sorority and fraternity parties and this and that. It became a point where it was like, you got to sacrifice something. Like, you can't do it all. Like, it's just not enough hours in the day for it.
And you know what? I go back and I'm mad at Different World because they didn't show that part.
Exactly.
Shit, they didn't show
I
that
know
part. I mean,
I know.
I only grew up on two things that could have showed me how college was: school
Right.
days and
Yeah.
different world. That's it.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
That is
God.
crazy. But talk about that though. Talk about how even from this perspective, because as you all started winning, then there's
Yeah.
even more pressure on you and your time. Now you're
Right.
speaking that kids programs and
Right.
they just pulling you left and right.
Left
You know,
and
talk
right.
about that, aspect, because I think a lot of times as future college athletes, they have no idea what comes with winning and success.
Right.
Yeah.
Today's AAU programs, I think you kind of got a little bit more of an idea
Mm-hmm.
from the athletic side of what it's going to be at the, on the college level. I mean, with these AAU programs now traveling all over the world and, doing all of that, you got a little bit of an idea, but it still doesn't, I don't think there's anything that kind of prepares you for what you're going to face when you get to the next level.
Right.
When you try to put it all together, the academic side, and then, you're including the athletic side as well. For me, it wasn't like until my sophomore year where I really felt like I got a grasp of it. But again, it was me having to sacrifice some things that I may have wanted to do to make everything fit and work, and the partying and all of that. I really was too tired to do that after a while. It was like,
Yes.
the little bit of free time that you got, you
Right.
just want to go and lay down because
Yes.
something else something else is coming. So for me, it was just that.
We used to call it mastering the 15-minute nap.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And now, these locker rooms and stuff, they got the lounges and stuff like that. You can hop in there and take a quick nap. These kids got it made today.
Yes.
Got it made.
Yes.
Do.
I was just back at Kansas maybe 6-7 months ago. And they gave me a tour of all the upgrades and everything. And it was just like, I was like, how could you not succeed with everything they give you?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just crazy.
So you at Kansas doing your thing, senior year, 20-5.
Mm-hmm.
Big 12 Conference Player of the Year, second team All AP All-American. You should have been first team.
Yes.
What was your expectations going into the senior year? Because everybody don't get to play in March Madness. Everybody don't get to play in the conference tournament. Talk about that, the preparation and your mindset.
Yeah, I mean, every year, of course, you want to get my goal was always to get to the Final Four. That was at the top of my list every year. But obviously, getting there is hella tough,
Yeah.
And then I think my senior year, we had a great chance. We had a couple of injuries to our front line that I thought, really hampered us down the road. But I think if we were fully, just obviously healthy,
Right.
that's something you got to have a little bit of luck to maintain that health all throughout the year. But if we were healthy, I think we would have made a bigger run towards it. We got beat Sweet 16, I think it was by Tennessee. Tennessee knocked us out. But we every year my goal was the same. I wanted to get my coach to the Final Four. And I think the hardest thing for me was that I wasn't able to achieve that for her, because I wanted it more for her than I even wanted for me. Like I just felt like she deserved that.
Talk about Coach Washington a little bit more. What was y'all relationship like, and why did you feel the need to get her this championship? What did she give you so much, that you felt so honorable wanting to give it to her?
Yeah, well, I just knew what she fought for. Black woman, one of the top programs. I know what her fight was daily. Trying to make sure that her team got the same stuff as the men's program, and all of those fights that we didn't really know and didn't really see back then. I wasn't privy to that until probably after I left, all the sacrifices that she made for us. But, just having somebody that I could look at that looks like me in that position of power, and how people looked at her and gave her that level of respect was incredible for me to watch and to see, and to be a part of. And she gave it all for us. You can see that on a daily basis. So it made us want to run through a wall for her. And that's kind of like how it started. But after I left college, and after I left school, and she started to really talk to me about everything that she had to go through, you just appreciate
right.
her plight, and you appreciate her and what she did for us even more. So yeah, that and even today, it's like I look at it and I'm like, she's in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame, and she was on the ballot but didn't get chosen this last time she was on the ballot for the Naismith Hall of Fame. And I'm like, what do I have to do to get her? I
Right,
mean, she
right.
definitely, like, she's one of those that, you look at, her career and what she's done for the game, and it's like, it's no way she shouldn't be in the Naismith Hall of Fame. She's definitely in a lot of Hall of Fames, but to put her in that, would kind of solidify, her stance to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Tamecka, in those, how coaches in them leagues, how they look coaching fraternities, right? And
Yeah.
they kind of look down, or like, because this coach recruit these type of kids or whatever, they don't. Does she have to go through that? Do you think?
No, I didn't think so. And you know what? It's funny, because you think about it, you look at it, and she was able to pull, she pulled a lot of, the top, black kids, obviously, but she pulled some top white kids too. So it wasn't just, it wasn't a color thing for
Right.
her. It was, I'm gonna find the best talent. And I think once she got in front of people's home, in front of people's parents, in their
Yeah.
homes, in front of people's families, she sold it. And people's families felt comfortable having their kids be mentored by her. And I think that was the big thing.
Well, I think you need to give me Coach Washington's number, because I'm gonna need her to go into a couple of meetings with me.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna need her to go into yeah, we love your consultant, Coach Washington. Thank you. I mean, what we signed up for this deal? Thanks, Coach. Get your 10%, woman. Go on, come on.
There, you know it. She'll get it for you.
It's interesting. I want to keep it on Coach Washington for a second. Being an African-American coach in Kansas, I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
We're talking about a state that still has segregation laws. I mean, did you feel any of the racial impact while you were on the university or within the city itself?
Funny, we were kind of insulated. Like, we didn't feel that. Like, I didn't really know. Like I said, I didn't really know some of the things that she had to deal with until after I left the program. And, we got really, really close. And, you sit and talk to her about some things. It was stuff she didn't share. And I think it was strategic that she didn't share it while I was there with her. But Kansas was a comfortable place for us. I think, they made us feel, really, really comfortable. But there was other things. There were things in play that she had to fight for. Like I mentioned before, some of the things that, you fight for from a women's program. The men's program is getting A, B, C, D, and E, and we're getting A and B. And she's the one in there like, my players deserve A through E, just like the men's program. She was the one battling and fighting for all of that. So,
Wow.
hats off to her.
Talk about some of your toughest matchups that you played against.
Now, are we talking about at Kansas, or are we talking about
At Kansas? At Kansas.
So Kansas, so we were obviously one of the top programs, and we would our rival at the time was probably Colorado. They had a really, really good program then. Colorado and Missouri, of course. Missouri, the battle war, the border wars that we used to go through with them. But Colorado probably because they were also ranked every year in and year out top 10. And they had some really, really good girls come through there. So we would always that was the matchup. Those were the big Allen Fieldhouse sellouts, and stuff like that. We go to Colorado, they'd be sold out.
When y'all went to play Missouri, did the Missouri Antlers get at you?
Yeah, Missouri was another one, man. They couldn't stand us, and we couldn't stand them. So it was always made for a
Anybody
long
know
night.
where the rivalry even started from? Where did the hate come in at?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, but they prime you when you come in. We hate Missouri. You better hate them too. So you like, all right, I'm rolling.
I
I
love
don't
it.
even know where it came from.
That's right.
Yeah,
love it.
it's crazy how you walk in and you develop the same hate for that team that everybody, over the years that's developed.
Your last game in a Kansas Jayhawk uniform. Talk to us about that.
So my last game in a Kansas uniform was our Sweet 16 game. We lost against Tennessee in the regional, in the Sweet 16 regionals. It was in Virginia at the time. And I think that hurts more than anything because you know that's the last time you're going to put that uniform on.
Did you cry?
Did I cry?
Yeah.
And it was like, the game was in Virginia. So, my family had like a busload of people come up from they drove up from Jersey. So it was like, yeah, they saw, my mom and dad were in the back with me. And it was like, I mean, I was bawling like, woo, it was crazy. But my coach pulled me aside while I'm crying on her shoulder. And she's like, just think about it like this. She said, it was 5 of us. She was like 4 seniors, excuse me. She was like, for them 3, that their career is probably over. Like they'll never, play in front of people, ever again. Like it, I don't, they may have an opportunity to play overseas. She's like, but you got an opportunity to continue to play. And please, play in front of people and this and that. It kind of subsided a little bit, my tears or whatever, but it was just like it's
she
tough
knew the right
because
words to say.
Yeah, it's tough because you're never gonna put on that Jayhawk uniform again, and that that was like 4 years that I really that blood, sweat, and tears that you put into that program. So yeah, it was a tough moment for me for sure.
Now, before we jump into your pro career, because we ready for that because at that point it had just been announced that it was going to have a WNBA, hadn't even started yet, and of course you are one of the originals of that. We want to take a break. Agee and I, we do this thing called halftime.
Okay.
And we got a halftime for you. It's some quick hitters, and I'm gonna hit you with this question first. Top 3 toughest stadiums to play in, college or WNBA?
Toyota Center in Houston. I would say Colorado, University of Colorado back then. Who else? I guess I would say in the pros, Phoenix Arena. They were tough. They were rivals with us in LA, and we had some really good rivalries with them. So I'd say those 3.
Okay. Give us your favorite game day meals. Or did you have to eat the same thing all the time, or did you switch it up?
I did. I kind of was crazy, OCD. Cheesecake Factory.
All right.
Okay.
Was my meal of choice in the pros. I actually live right down the street from Cheesecake, so I call them. They knew exactly what to make me. Yeah. So the pasta with marinara sauce, and a side salad. That was it.
Keep it real. I love it.
Did you have any game day superstitions or routines?
Not really. I really just tried to relax, sleep. I took a little nap, and then I would get up probably like 4 or 5 hours, 3-4 hours before our game. I was the type of player that always had to get to the arena like 2.5, 3 hours ahead of time. Like I was that person. I went and I'd have to get me a nice little workout, like a little shooting workout before anybody even got to the arena. I go back, take a shower, just relax, and then get ready for the game. So I was always the early on time, get my treatment, all of that stuff. I didn't want to think about any of that when it was time for the ball to be thrown up.
That's what's up.
Now, I want to ask you this, and I want to ask you this in as carefully as I can.
Okay.
Because the W just put out their top 25.
Yes.
Who are, and I got some issues with it because just for me, sometimes I just think, if you're fresh and new, you shouldn't be top 25. I'm just sorry. You ain't accomplished enough. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. But give me your top favorite WNBA players of all time. And if you want to include yourself, feel free.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've been getting a lot of questions about this top 25, and you try to be, I'm neutral.
You ain't got to be neutral nor political.
That's right.
But there's some players on there definitely that I think they missed. I didn't even really look at the whole list. I'm friends with a lot of people on Instagram, on Facebook. So a lot of the people that are on there had kind of mentioned that they were. And that's kind of like how I figured out who was and who wasn't. But I really still today haven't looked at the list, but I could give you, 5 or 6 players that I know that should be on the list. I would think and I don't even know if she's on the list. I don't think she made it, but Delisha Milton-Jones, who played with me at the Sparks, I think she was one that probably should. Rebecca Brunson from Minnesota, she got 5 rings. I don't think nobody got 5.
Yeah.
She got 5 for a reason.
Yeah.
She wasn't just, I don't know if Andrea Stinson made it, but I think Andrea, she should have definitely been. Yeah, she was tough. Oh, she was tough. She was ahead of her time too, I think.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question. Let me switch it there. Is Tamecka Dixon top 25?
I would think yes. But if you look at it statistically, there may be some issues because when I played on the Sparks teams, we always had like 3 players that made the All-Star team. It was so much talent in one ball. You know what I'm saying? So technically, I probably could have averaged 18, 20 points a game. I could have if I needed to. But with so much talent, it's only one ball. So if you're looking at it from a statistical standpoint, and you thinking about it like that, statistics maybe not, but importance to a team and what we
talking about
did.
Just toss the ball up in the air.
Now, if you're talking about straight hooping,
straight hooping.
Let's take it out in the WNBA arena and put it in the park.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm in that top 25.
I know that's right.
Without a doubt.
That's what's up.
Without a doubt.
I know that's right. That's what I was trying to get you to say. I'm like, take your flowers. Take your flowers. Yes,
I
yes.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Now, give me your favorite sneaks to play in.
So I was a Nike athlete. It's funny because I was actually the first one. So Jordan handpicked 2 of us, me and Charlotte Smith, to wear his first Jordan shoe. We weren't considered Jordan brand because he didn't have any. At the time, it wasn't a brand. He was the only one wearing it. But he had a shoe back then. And he asked, a few of us to wear it. He picked me. But I was a Nike athlete. So the first Jordan shoe is what I love to wear back then. But I'm an old school girl, so I love the Air Forces. I love the Forces. I had them in every color, every design, I collected them for a long time. I just actually gave about 200 pair of them joints away. They probably was worth some money. But,
Yes.
That's right. And we know yours is real.
Yeah. Yeah. But I was a Nike athlete, so all that Nike stuff, all those.
Okay, look, this is a two-part question, Tamecka. Top 3 favorite rappers or artists from the 90s, and then give me your current top 3 artists right now.
I gotta go with Biggie.
Okay.
In the 90s, Redman. I love me some Redman back then in the 90s.
Yeah, it's Jersey love, baby.
You already know. I'm from that Jersey.
What is it,
that
Brick
New
City?
York, yeah. And I had to say Wu-Tang. Those were my 3 back then.
Yes. The Tang, baby, the Wu.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I don't really listen to that much hip hop anymore. I like J. Cole. I've been listening to his stuff. I love Nip. I love Nip before this passing. But I like Nip. And who now? I mean, really, I don't really listen to a lot of hip hop. I like Rick Ross.
Okay.
Yeah, I can listen to pretty much anything, but that new stuff, I don't know. If it sounds new, it ain't for me.
But you still that 90s, you still got a little R&B in you?
Yeah. That's what I am. That's what I am.
That's what you are?
I done graduated to R&B.
Gosh.
So who you listening to?
So now, and it's funny because I still don't listen to a lot of new stuff. But I listen to. I'm a Layla Hathaway fan. I love Layla.
Mm-hmm.
The new stuff, I like Her's album. Her.
Mm-hmm.
Think she got a really good album.
Yeah.
But I'm really like a really mellow, laid back soul type.
Who's your old school R&B artist?
Old school R&B, Anita Baker.
Oh yes.
I'm an Anita fan.
Yes.
But in the early 90s, you had that whole Jodeci era. I did all of that too.
Give me your 3 favorite movies.
I gotta say Hoop Dreams. Favorite of all time. The Wood. I used to love The Wood. I used to watch that.
Wood.
And damn. I had to say Friday, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Friday was one of my cult classics. Yeah.
Now I'm a movie and a TV head, a freak almost could say, because I be doing quotes and stuff from movies and shit. So
yeah.
your top 3 TV shows.
TV shows, top 3. You gotta say the Cosby's.
Okay.
That was that's our era. I would say Billions. I love Billions on
Okay, Showtime.
Uh-huh. And one of my favorite shows was The Sopranos. I love The Sopranos.
The Sopranos.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Interesting list here, Tamecka.
Yeah. So all I heard was she like a lot of stuff where people die.
Right.
Well, thank you for doing halftime with us.
Yes.
We want to jump into the new era. The WNBA is coming, and we want to educate our listeners too, particularly on the basketball history, because your timing was actually crazy. Because in 1996, the WNBA gets announced. You're going into your senior year of college. 1997 is going to be the first draft, the first season of the WNBA. What was going through your head? Did you think you had a chance to be a part of that first season?
So I'll give you guys a little bit of history. So my assistant coach at Kansas actually left the program after my junior season. She got hired as the director of player personnel for the WNBA. Oh, wow. So I kind of knew that it was coming. I had a kind of like a heads up. But if a lot of people don't realize and recognize, there was a professional women's league going on at the time. It was called the ABL, which is the American Basketball. Yeah,
we had a Chicago team.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
So, so at the time, the ABL was paying, the six-figure salaries and stuff like
Yep.
that. And we knew, coming in at the WNBA, you might not have gotten that six-figure salary right out, but you kind of had to weigh, the
Yeah.
options. NBA with the backing, or WNBA with the backing of the NBA, and David Stern was really, really, he wanted it to succeed. He was behind it. He was going to do everything he could to push it. Or the ABL, which was paying that money right out the gate. So
And you ain't have to go across that water.
yeah, it was a really unique time for us. For me coming out, I'm a senior in college, and I have options that I've never ever had before, and it was, yeah, it was crazy. So I did know it was coming, and I was able to, after my senior season, it was like time sped up. It was like,
Mm.
okay, next week I'm back on campus, and it was like coach had me in the office, kind of like figuring out agents and shoe deals, and like a year prior to this none of this stuff was even, I wasn't even thinking about it. Like
Yes.
it was crazy. So yeah, I'm interviewing agents. I'm trying to figure out what's next. Trying to shoe deals. We were at Nike school. I had the Nike rep. I had Reebok rep. I had Adidas reps in there trying to sell me. I'm like, this is amazing. So I had deals from both leagues, um, and I chose the WNBA because I felt like, although I would have gotten paid more out the gate with the ABL, I just thought with the backing of the NBA and how supportive David Stern was of it, and he just was hell bent on seeing it succeed. I just felt like that was the right place for me.
Mm.
But to have an opportunity to have both those leagues kind of, court you and want you, and like I said, prior to that, these opportunities didn't exist. You was either go overseas or, get a real job. you know,
I think that's the best feeling, Tamecka, for as a basketball player, of these people wanting you.
yes.
These shoe companies coming after you, wanting you, like to be
hmm
wanted, to feel that. I mean, I can know the excitement was probably blowing your ears off.
Man, it was crazy. It really was. I was excited about it. I felt like, on the base level of it, it's just having an opportunity to continue to compete, which is what we all
Yes,
love to do.
in
I have an
America.
opportunity in America. I have an opportunity to continue to do that, and y'all want to pay me?
Oh,
What? And y'all want
what?
to pay me to do this? I'm like, yeah, this is where it's at for real. So to have that opportunity was incredible.
So how did that thing work? I mean, it's so you already knew where you were going to get picked. I mean, did you have to work out for teams prior to the draft? I mean,
So since it's the first draft, you have players who've been playing overseas for 10, 11 years, 7, 8 years. And now
Right.
they hear about a WNBA. So they like, I want to go home and play. So now you got that pool of players. So you got that pool of players coming back wanting to play. In addition to that, you got the college seniors coming out. So they
Hmm.
have a pre-draft camp. So that pre-draft camp was invite only. I think it was like 300 players, maybe.
wow.
Um, I can't remember the exact amount, but it was a lot of people. Of those overseas talent coming back wanting to play, and then
Hmm.
it was invite only, so it was like the top college seniors were invited, and it was down in Orlando at the Orlando Magic facilities. And there was when you just kind of go through the whole draft
Hmm.
workout process, and you playing a lot in front of the general managers and the coaches of the same thing as you see today, where they
Hmm.
have the pre-draft camps and the tournaments and all of that stuff going on, same thing. um and that was kind of where you got your first conversation. You had your first conversations with the coaches. They were able to see you, talk to you, feel you, feel you out and stuff, and see if you were going to be a good fit. Now, before that, they had it was called, I forgot what it was called, but it was a draft where they placed two players on each franchise. So you had 8 teams. You had two. No, it was more than 2 players. So it's 4 players, I think. 4 top players. So they had those pool of players, and that pool of players was like a Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, all those. So they had these anchor players basically, where they had a draft where they put these 4 players on each team, and then you had to kind of build out the rest of your roster from that pre-draft camp.
Okay.
So that's kind of how it was. So in LA, if you remember in '96, you had that Olympic team, that huge Olympic team that got all the notoriety.
Yep.
Well, that was strategic. That was like, we're coming out with the WNBA. We're gonna take this 1996 Olympic team, and we're gonna market the hell out of them. So
And
you
they
had
did.
at least, you had they were everywhere, right?
Yes.
Everywhere.
Hell, they was on Martin's show.
Yeah, yep. They were everywhere.
As a matter of fact, I remember they actually even came and practiced in Chicago because I went to the practice. That squad had Lisa Leslie.
Dawn was on there.
Dawn, right? Because she was because remember they had them commercials because Dawn is a point guard. Nike was promoting the heck out of that thing too.
Yeah.
So it was huge back then.
Yeah, so you had that, and then from that team you had the anchor. You had the anchor players. You took off that team the anchor players. Now, at the time, you still had some of those players contracted in the ABL, like Dawn. She was an ABL player. But most of those players came into the WNBA, and then you anchored them with other top talent. Like in LA, it was Lisa Leslie, it was Penny Toller out of Long Beach.
Penny Toller, that's right.
It was Haishaw Zhang, which was Chinese national 6'11" Chinese national team player of the year. Deidre Charles out of Tennessee. Those were our 4 anchor players. And then, you got the pre-draft camp, try to figure out how you're going to build out your roster. So that's kind of how it happened. So, just think about me, I'm a college senior now. I'm competing with not only the college seniors, I'm competing with all this professional talent that they've been playing for years. So they want to come back and play too. So you have the draft, and I was selected 14th overall. But if you had like a traditional draft where it was just college seniors, I would have been 3rd overall. I was the 3rd college player pick, but I was 14th overall because a lot of the teams wanted to kind of build out their programs or their teams with experience. They didn't know what they was going to get with us. You know what I mean? So they built it out that way. But if it was a traditional draft, I would have definitely been top 5 pick.
So how was that draft? Did they gather y'all in a place, or where were you?
So yeah, it was so the draft was held at NBA Studios. NBA Studios is in Secaucus, which is 25-30 minutes from my house in New Jersey.
Wow.
And at the time they had it there. So I was actually invited to the draft. I was one of the college players that they invited in. And it was maybe 20 of us that came, I think.
Okay.
And it was kind of, if you think about the NBA draft, it was the same thing at the time. Back then it was more like a green room. You back in the green room,
right?
And you kind of you just waiting for your number. It was nerve wracking, but
you got to give us the Tamecka WNBA draft New Jersey swag. We want to know how you walked up in there, baby.
So,
pantsuit? Was you looking like business? Was you looking like Kamala Harris? Like, let me walk up in here and show y'all.
So I had a nice little tan suit on with some brown shoes. Hair was laid. Makeup was done. I'm like, yeah, I'm here.
That's what's up.
Yeah. But it was an amazing experience to just be able to be a part of that and have my family be a part of that because my family
Oh,
was able to
wow.
come. Yeah. And then
That's
after the draft, it was like you kind of hit the road running.
Mm.
It's
wow.
nonstop after that.
Was there like a promotional tour? Is that took place, or y'all just went right into playing?
So no, it was like I got drafted that day. And 2 days later I was in LA. And it's like, New
Hollywood.
Jersey, Kansas. Now I'm in LA, and it's like la la land. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I
Oh,
like
wow.
palm trees. I'm like, I got a little money in my pocket now, so you living that life. I'm 21 years old in LA.
What?
It couldn't get no better than that.
All I heard her say was, "I'm legal living in
Yeah,
LA." That's all I heard. That's all I
yeah,
heard.
that's it. That's it.
So take us back there. So you in LA. When did it come to your mind that you say like, wow, this is really happening? Because up to this point, they'd always talked about having a women's professional team, but it had
Right,
never come to pass. When
right.
when did you say like, man, I can't believe this is happening? And here in the United States.
Yeah, I think that reality kind of hit me when I was in coach's office, and
Mm.
I had, we were interviewing the agents,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next day, it was the shoe companies, and then when they started courting me, because it was like, they flew me out to Portland.
Mm.
Nike did flew me out to Portland with my family, sat me down, wanted me to be a part of the Nike family, and then the shopping. And then they brought you into this, it was the Nike employee store, and they're like, get what you want. And I
Ooh.
was like,
Damn.
I said, and my parents, my mom and dad were with me, so they were like, get what you want. Like, is this real? Like, they were like, it's real. So I think all of those components kind of made me feel like, okay, like this is serious. Like this is real,
Man.
this is real. But yeah, it was an amazing experience to like be able to be a part of that. And then have my family be a part of it with me and experience it with
Yeah. Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Take us in the locker room when that first time you see that name on that jersey.
Oh man. Crazy. The hoop dream was real. But it even more so than that, it was like, in 97 we were still playing in the Forum. And I told you, my
Right.
father, huge Laker fan.
Right.
So first game of the year, first game of the season, we were like the inaugural game too. Played in
Mm-hmm.
New York, um, nationally televised game on NBC, playing against New York in the Forum. So it's like I that was like that was a full circle moment for me because I was able to, when I looked up and saw Magic, I was like,
What?
I'm I'm here.
What?
Like, I'm
Yeah.
here. Yeah, it's like Magic. I mean, the first game of the year was kind of like, first game of the season, it was like who's who in LA was all there because
Mm-hmm.
everybody was like, what is this?
They want to come and support and see.
It was shocking to me because I'm
Was
like, they
Pops
all here
there?
to watch. Pops was there. First game. So he got a chance to meet Magic, got a chance to meet, it was like full circle. Definitely a full
Wow.
circle moment for me. Yeah. It was crazy. But you look up and you see in like Tyra Banks and Denzel, and it's like, no, they all come in the, you don't
Right.
watch these people on TV forever. And it's like, I couldn't wrap my head around that they actually came to see me, you know?
The Tamecka Dixon that I'm familiar with is the Tamecka Dixon with the pimp walk. Give us the story on the walk.
If you saw my father walk, I have
What?
his walk. That's
Wow.
that's his walk. I walk just like, if I'm walking behind my dad, it's like it's in sync with each other. It's amazing.
It's a true baller's walk.
It's a
I
true.
mean,
I was listen. I was gonna say that. You know, it's funny. When you come across a hooper, they don't know who I am by face. They look at my face. They say, I don't know. Like, I don't know you, but I know you hoop just by the way you walk.
yeah, you walk.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Talk to us about that WNBA first season though. Give us the inaugural season. Y'all are in it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So yeah, the first season was for us, for LA specifically, it wasn't, we had some growing pains. New league, new team. We had been through, I think in my first year we went through three coaches. Like I think that first year was just growing pains, trying to figure out like where what we were supposed to do, how we were supposed to do it. And that really didn't, the transition really didn't smoothen out until we got Michael Cooper in there. When he became our head coach, that's when we got that stability from that position, and we were able to grow from there. But first year was like a lot of growing pains. For me, as well as for the team. I think my rookie year, I averaged like 15 to 16 points a game. So I was heavily relied on. But we weren't good. We didn't get to that point till maybe 4 years in, when we started to really click. Got the right players in there.
Y'all more than clicked.
Yeah. We
right.
Yeah. She said all subtle. Well, we just clicked. It's called back to back.
Yeah.
I think she said it. She hit it when Coop got in there. I think he gave them like a how they would do it in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like he gave them a little structure to where they can know what type of team they're gonna have going forward. Like what was gonna be y'all identity.
Well, he brought the pedigree in too of championship.
Right. Because you know what it was? Now you're dealing with professional female players. And what they were trying to do in the beginning is bring in, and it was new for everybody. So you're bringing in college coaches, and they're trying to develop the program as a college team. Right. But we're professional athletes now. So when they got Michael Cooper in, I think he came from a whole different perspective. He wasn't a former college coach; he was a professional athlete. So he kind of knew how that, it just clicked better. When he came in, and obviously he brought in all Pat Riley stuff. What developed them. So we got all of that.
That was right up your alley, Miss Showtime.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was when it clicked. That's when it started to turn around for us, and we started to gain that success.
They clicking, you got success. Give us the story on those 2 back-to-back championships, because LA is just synonymous with championships. I mean, if you don't win a championship in LA, you might not be welcome back. Give us the backdrop.
You're right about that. So first 4 years in the league, Houston Comets, back to back. All 4, tear off the first 4 championships. That 4th championship, though, they came through us in the Western Conference Finals, and they beat us in Game 3 in LA to go on to win the championship. That was what solidified us, because I remember sitting in there laying on the forum floor, like bawling, but that was the turnaround for us. We all went where we were going. I went overseas, all the girls, most of the girls, but we made a pact that when we go overseas, everybody got to come back with something different. Bring something different back that's going to get us over this hump. And when we came back that next season, from day one, everybody was ready to just compete. And when we won our first championship, it wasn't even close, because we had prepared. So, I mean, everybody, we had that, how you lose that game that
Mm-hmm.
And that you gotta wear that, you gotta have that taste in your mouth for
Yep.
because you can't get it back for a whole year. That taste was in my mouth. I never forget. I was over in Italy. I had signed a international contract to play overseas in Italy that off season. And I did it solely to prepare for the WNBA season. I'm like, I'm gonna be in the best shape. I'm gonna work on my game, and that's all I did. I mean, complete focus. When we came back together day one. Preseason training camp was
Right.
intense. It was hell. But once we got into the regular season, nobody could touch us.
Was there any extra pressure being an LA Spark? Because, even though those 4 years Houston was winning the WNBA championship, and I thought they did an amazing job of promoting them, but there's still something, it's kind of like even in the men's league now, it's like the NBA still isn't the NBA unless there's the Lakers successful,
Yeah.
or the Knicks are successful. Being a Spark in those early years, did you feel any pressure like, man, we gotta win?
Yeah, I did. And it didn't just come from me or from our franchise. I think the idea was to have the bigger market teams win. Like they wanted the LAs to win, the New Yorks to win.
Mm.
It's just Houston came in and took it. Um, but yeah, it was definitely pressure because we were, you look at all the preseason picks and what the coaches were saying, general managers, everybody was picking us to win, and
Right.
we came out and stunk it up. So from that standpoint, it was a lot of pressure.
Did you feel the fans' support through those first, inaugural years, 4 or 5 years? The LA support, did you feel it?
Yeah, we definitely now, LA, we had a nice support system, but LA is a town that when you winning, they riding with you. When you losing, they looking at the Lakers and saying, no, we got this on the men's side.
So after 9 seasons with the Sparks, you go to Houston.
hmm
What led to that move?
I think I was at a point in my career where I kind of wanted to test the free agent market a little bit. Um, I was in LA, had been there 9 years, and it was time for something new. I was trying to figure out, I still had some free agent value at that time, and just wanted to kind of test it. And I thought at the time Houston was a good place to try to do that. They still had some really good foundational pieces, and I thought we, would really have a good shot at winning the championship. So I took the plunge and signed a free agent deal with Houston.
Did your agent or your dad play a role in that decision? Did you kind of ask them?
I did, and I always kind of leaned on my father for advice. But he always, wanted me to make the decision I felt was best for me. Um, and so at the end of the day, it was my decision to make. In hindsight, I thought I made the right decision. I had some pieces there that was in Houston that was kind of holdovers from LA. My assistant coach from LA was in Houston as a head coach. And I felt like, it was a good
Mm-hmm.
move for me. And it was. I went to Houston. I had some really good years, 3 good years in Houston. So I definitely don't regret the decision at all.
So now you done rocked the WNBA. What led to the decision to go overseas after your WNBA career? You kind of said, okay, I'm gonna finish this thing out overseas.
So I had been playing overseas kind of on and off throughout my career. I played in 3 countries. I played in Turkey a year. I played
Mm.
in Italy for 6 years, and then I played in Russia a year. So in between WNBA seasons, it was just an opportunity for me to go over, make make some money, and stay in
Mm-hmm.
stay in tip top shape. I always looked at it as an opportunity to just continue to grow my game over in another country. So I did that, pretty regularly because I was a national team player too. So I was
Mm-hmm.
in that national team pool, to become an Olympian. So I was also doing that. So it was like a year-round kind of job, for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't playing overseas internationally, then I was training for the national team.
And I think that's what's so crazy about women's basketball compared to men's basketball. I mean, you all truly personify there is no off season, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing fall ball, winter ball over there. Then you go into your summer, and your season is summer.
Yep.
Where do you find the time to take care of yourself?
It wasn't a lot of that. I would be in the WNBA from May through September. I'd have maybe 2-3 weeks, and then I'm overseas. I'm playing from October to May or to April, and I got 2-3 weeks. Sometimes it depends on how your season is going over there. Because if you go deep into the playoffs, you coming right into training camp in the WNBA.
Yeah.
So there was years in between that I just really had to take time off. But you think about an NBA 82 game season, I did that. I did that,
Yeah.
but it was 2 different leagues, but I was doing that. I was doing that.
How did you balance that though? What if you wanted to have children or,
Yeah.
All those things? I mean, what's the sacrifice in that?
There's a huge sacrifice, even, with your family, your mate, you overseas and, they're here working or whatever. And you got to try to figure out how they can get over there for 2-3 weeks. And if you got children, a lot of players that have children and trying to navigate through that process and get them involved in school there. And, it definitely is. It's a juggling match, to try to figure that stuff out. But for me, it was like, I have a window, this is my window. I don't know, I was so fortunate to be able to play professionally 13 years. But the average lifespan of a professional ball player is what?
Yeah.
4 years?
Yeah. Yes.
So, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm gonna sacrifice whatever I need to sacrifice for this couple of years, because when it's over, it's over. It's nothing else.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
Yeah. But when you look back, it's like you sacrificed I sacrificed a whole lot.
Right.
Missing family events and, all of that stuff.
We want to jump into this because we know we've had you on here for quite a while now, but if you give us just a little bit more time, because we want to talk about the culture of the WNBA and the business of basketball. So first, I just want to ask you, what has Tamecka Dixon been up to since, you retired from the game, and can I get a job and come work for you?
So listen. So, we all probably had that same kind of, basketball is over and you trying to figure out what you can do like next, because your whole life, you've dedicated your whole life to playing this sport. So you start behind the 8 ball, obviously, because, while your friends and people of your same age group went on into the corporate world and got these jobs, you coming out at, I retire at 30, 32 years old, and I'm like starting fresh. Don't have any experience, job experience or anything like that. So, but I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's what I always wanted to do. So when I kind of felt like, I was getting to the end of the road, I started interning with the WNBA. They had these like programs where you can intern with some companies to kind of see, what you had an interest in and what do you think you wanted to do after basketball. So I took that opportunity and didn't go overseas of a few years to take an internship. I interned with the New Jersey Nets at the time when they were the New Jersey Nets, now they're the Brooklyn Nets. I interned at NBA studios. I did some stuff like that just to kind of figure out like what I wanted to do. But I knew I didn't want to work for somebody. So my last year, I thought maybe I wanted to go into the financial service industry because when I was overseas, I actually got my master's. So in my off season, I got my master's in business. So I thought I might have wanted to do that, go into the financial service industry, and I got hired right out, by Edward Jones, which is financial services industry. I thought I might want to be a financial advisor. I did that for like a year and a half, but it was so slow, like too slow for me. I built a good book of business and just kind of like played on my, contacts and people I knew to try to build it and did that. But the industry just moved a little too slow for me. So I was like, I don't think I want to do this. So I went from financial services and I moved straight into insurance. So I did that. I had started with a company. I had 14 people working under me, like managing 14 people. And I decided I didn't want to do that. So I did that for about a year. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So I took on a franchise ownership position. I bought a Avis and Budget car rental franchise and bought it from a struggling owner. So the owner wanted to get out the business. They owned 13 of them, and he was looking to sell them off and move down and retire. And the business was struggling. And, I went in, I took a look at the business, said, this might be something I want to do. It at least get me doing my own thing. So I was like, it's my own business. I can build it. I can grow it. So I took it over. First 4 years, I became profitable in it. Had it for 10 years. And then I just sold it in January. Because when the COVID hit, pandemic hit, I started hemorrhaging money. I said, oh Lord, this ain't what I signed up for. Yeah, nobody needed a car. But I thought, it might have been the best time to get out of it. So I sold it in January, made a nice little penny. And now I'm just kind of like just trying to figure out what I want to do next. So yeah, that's about it.
That's good stuff there.
The staying in the coaching basketball in that type of world with high school or that never crossed your mind?
Every year I get asked to coach. You know what I enjoy? Coaching the little kids, elementary, first year, junior high. I love teaching them because they're still coachable. They still just want to learn and understand the game and all of that. But every year I get older, I start to think about like all this knowledge that I have of the game.
Right.
And I help as much as I could, but I always think about like, what it would be if I had my own program. Could I build my own program and grow it and grow the kids? I think about it all the time. So it might be something down the road that I take on.
What do you think about today's women game and why you think it hasn't caught on like the men's game?
I think it's going in the right direction. I think it's really starting to grow now. You think about the last like maybe year and all of this like year of the woman, power for women and all of this stuff. I think all of that has kind of helped grow the WNBA game and have people look at it from a different perspective. But I think also what it has done is showed corporations how marketable women are, because now you're starting to get now, Sue Bird and now Angel and all these Deladon and all these girls are starting to get these commercials, and these you're starting to see them on TV a lot more. Nneka, Agumake, Swiss, the sisters, you're starting to see corporations starting to say that these girls are just as marketable as the men, and putting the corporate dollar behind that now. And I think the WNBA is seeing that and kind of turning how they're marketing their players and how they're going out to get these corporate dollars. And I think it's going in the right direction. I like where it's going.
Do you think that from the standpoint, because it is played during the summer, that hurts the game a little bit?
I don't think. I mean, it could be from the perspective of, if you think about the summer months, it's the summer. It's the time where families are really out and about, they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
vacation, they're doing all of these things, and do they really want to commit to being a season ticket holder if they're not going to be in Chicago? They're taking their kids out,
Mm-hmm.
to other places to vacation during the summer months. So from that perspective, it might be a little bit of an issue. But then you have to think about, do you want our product to compete with the NBA in the fall, and winter, in the fall and winter months? So I think it's where it is strategically placed, and I think it's a good thing. I just think you have to figure out how to market it a little better.
Goodness.
I mean, and the media, I mean, you think about it, the media has done a better job of, talking about the game,
Yeah,
exposing it in different ways. Uh, when Renee Montgomery, she's a ex-player, but she's a co-owner
yeah.
of the Atlanta Dream. You talk about
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. Talk to us about that, about how the women of the WNBA are
Yeah.
having dual jobs. You know,
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, the Renee Montgomery thing. Now, when you have somebody of her stature, a former player who knows what players are about, knows us, has been one of us, steps up into that position. Now you got us in the boardroom trying to fit, so it gives us
mm,
a little bit more stain. But not only her, I mean, you're starting to see a lot of former players in the league office now, you know, working on the WNBA, not only the
mm.
WNBA side, but the NBA side. So when you have these players moving into higher positions like that, you know that they're going to do what's right by the player at that point.
I wonder what the corporate sponsorship was during the first 10 years of the league than now.
Yeah, and how they're doing business now is a little different too. I think in the beginning you had
Mm-hmm.
corporations who stepped in and supported the WNBA, so they were all like national sponsors. Now what they're doing is, not only do you have the national sponsors supporting the league, but now you're allowing other teams, the individual teams like the LA Sparks, to go
Mm-hmm.
out and get their own sponsorship deals for that specific team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the
Team.
beginning, they weren't allowing that. They just had the corporate sponsors, and that's what it was. They weren't allowing, because it was kind
Right.
of like seen as an advantage, a competitive disadvantage for, if one team could get it, then and the other team couldn't get it, then it was looked at as an advantage for that team. You know what I'm saying? But now it's like, get in when
Mm,
you get in, or you better get you a better team to go out and get these sponsorship
right.
deals, and y'all gonna get left behind. It creates a competitive advantage for everybody if everybody's
Mm-hmm.
going, starting to hire these people to
Yep.
go out and get this sponsorship money, and I think that's only going to be better for the league.
What do you think it's going to take to grow the game, to evolve? What do you think the WNBA needs to do?
I think it's going. Like I said, I think it's going. They just signed a new collective bargaining agreement, where now they're starting to. These players can command a little more. The lower level players are making six figures now. When I was coming up, the higher level players were the only ones making that. Everybody else was underneath that. So,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
but now you got the lower level players making that. They've changed and done a lot of things a little better in this last collective bargaining agreement. Not only that, is now they're starting to let royalties. They're allowing players, former players and present players, to collect royalties, things like that on merchandise and stuff like that. So these pieces, were things that already been on the NBA
yeah.
side for years and years, but the women were fighting to get these things. Healthcare, when you retire, there's no healthcare after retirement.
But put on your commissioner hat though. Put on your commissioner hat. What would Tamecka Dixon do? What would you do?
What would I do? What would I do? first thing I would do is my owners, people I have owning these teams, have to have a sole commitment to the team. And by that, what I mean is, when we were coming up, and it wasn't us really, because the buses were very present. Dr. Bus wanted to see us succeed. He put the money where his mouth was. He put the efforts behind us. But you've had some organizations that, which is why the WNBA, some of the WNBA teams and franchises folded. Like, take, for example, Charlotte, right? You got the Charlotte Sting, you got the Charlotte Hornets at the time. They're both owned by the Charlotte Hornets. But when Charlotte Hornets started struggling, and they had to start cutting costs and start cutting things, and what do you think the first thing is they gonna cut? They gonna cut the Sting, because they gonna put all their efforts and stuff on that. So what I would like to see first off is the sole purpose of you owning a team. You have to see value in that team, and you as an owner, it can't be just a tax write-off for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For me, if I was coming in and I was an owner of a team, everything that I do would be to make my team succeed. Because you got to see that women, you have to know that there's marketability in women. Like, you got to take that and you got to grow that.
Yeah.
And you got to see that in the future, this could be $1 billion business.
Even though, I wanted something a little bit more deep. I want you to say, this is what I would have do right now. We're gonna turn them dollars, and here's our league minimum. These are our top salaries.
But to tell you that, I really think it's going in the right direction, because, when you talk about the salary increases and things like that, I think it's right on par to where it should be right now. It took a little while to get it there, but I think now, you have, the top players earning $500,000, unheard of when we were coming up,
Yeah.
And then you add endorsement deals to that, you got $1 million players now. Easy.
Yeah.
Wow. Is there a WNBA Players Association like
Yes.
the
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And how does that operate? Like, who is the head of it, and how does that go?
I've been kind of removed from it. When I was a player, I was a part of the Players Association. On the player side, I was always a representative of our team. I've always stayed a part, but I've been so far removed from it. I don't know who's heading the organization now. If I heard her name, I would say, that's but they do have a representative that heads the WNBPA, is what it's called. And it used to be the same law firm that handled the NBPA, but no longer. Now it's separate. We got our own law firm that does the WNBA stuff, and they've done a good job. I have to say that.
I just want to get your thoughts on college players getting paid now. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm so mad. I am hating so much. I'm hating. I tell you, it's a long time coming. I'm happy for them. I think it's well overdue. We all know that. But I'm hating that it ain't during my era. Boy, I'm hating. You start looking at these articles that's coming out. These boys signing $1 million deals in college. That's a game changer.
Yeah. And
that's
some of them not even the star players. They're like second and third stringers.
Exactly.
My hate for them on that is, I always say the Charles Barkley line, boy, you were just born at the right time.
Right. Exactly.
Boy, you ain't that good, boy. I'm telling you. You ain't worth that contract. You were just born at the right time.
That's it. But I'm happy that it happened. It took a lot of players coming through that system to finally change it. But I'm happy that these kids at least have an opportunity. It's gonna change the game. in so many ways for these athletes.
Do you think it's going to hurt the
Yeah.
college game? Because on one level, and you was talking about this earlier in terms of sponsorship, if I can just sponsor a player and I don't necessarily got to sponsor the university anymore, do you think it's going to hurt the game a little bit?
I think it's so much old money in college sports that no, it's not.
Yep.
No, that's right.
It's so much old money in there, so
Yes.
much old money. I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna hurt it at all, but from a player's perspective, just think about the players coming out now, say the NBA guys or potential NBA guys coming out now, or football players, or they have an opportunity now. Like, they just got so many options. Like, you don't,
Right.
you could do the G League thing or whatever,
Right.
and make that whatever it is. Their minimum is what, $250, $350 to play the G League. But now I'm looking at college and I'm saying, well, shit, if I'm a top player, I can go command my price over here. I'm going back. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna go to college
Right.
because I can make, instead of making this $350, I can go make this $2 million right here.
Easy.
And you know what I'm saying? So it's just the options that they have are crazy.
And then just think about that. Just think about that
crazy.
student athlete. Just think about that student athlete. If he got 3 million social media followers, what? He can say, "Hey man, I got a whole." I mean, he could show up to a game and say, "I got a whole section over there wearing my T-shirts they just bought off my website."
Yep.
Killing the game.
What?
So now in the NCAA, they dragged their feet and kicked and screamed about doing this. But now you can actually you can compete now. Like, you could compete for the players again, because before, when they now they looking at this like, I can go get paid and do this and do that. I'm going here. But now when you can name your own price, shit, you winning.
And they got so many
That is
leagues to choose from.
crazy.
They can go, like you said, the G League. They can go overseas. You got the new overtime league now. I mean,
Yep.
it's yeah. Now, how did you think that would transfer with the women? Have you heard much in terms of it with the women's game?
No, I haven't, and I'm interested to see. Because there's always been the talks about the non-revenue sport, like how that would play for them. But in the bigger organ, like a Kansas, it's men's basketball, football, and women's basketball, and most of the other programs, it's that way. Men's basketball and football kind of like the 1 and 2, and then the next revenue sport is women's basketball. So we got to fight. We have a fight in that number too. Where it may hurt is those non-revenue sports. The rowing and the them sports like that. They may not see the benefit of it, but those big time sports, you got options.
Just think of these kids, if this college athlete is their favorite guy, and he can just say, "Hey, I'll send y'all some gear every time you post some or whatever." Like, all of these things now are available to them.
Everything.
And like I say, you just born at the right time, boy. We laid the foundation and the grunt work for this shit.
I'm telling you. And it's funny because I was kicking and screaming getting on social media. Like, I'm not a social media person. But to not be a social media person in this time, day and time is like, what do you should be. You need to be.
You have to be.
So I was late to the party, but it is what it is.
Yeah, my man gonna hit you with his last question.
You already kind of gave it to us, but I want you to give it to the public. What's this Tamecka Dixon's next hoop dream?
The next hoop dream. I'm looking at jumping into the real estate game. I think that would be the next step. So I think that might be my next hoop dream, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen with this daggone COVID and this coronavirus, and try to let that kind of play out a little bit before I jump into my next opportunity. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it.
For that young girl that's out there listening to our podcast and listening to you right now, give her some words of wisdom and advice
Put your head down and get to work. Clear out all the noise. Silence everybody. Don't think about anybody. Just think about what your goal is and what your dream is. And put your head down, write it down on paper, and get to work.
I'm the gold of my era. I've been a trending topic. I'm as fly as a feather. My pockets macroscopic. See, with time I get better. I'm always in the action, kid. Know I got it locked from Chicago where the toughest live. Concrete jungle, earn my stripes on the pavement there. You make it here, then you can make it anywhere. No comparison. Your game is embarrassing. No one can touch me. I'm all for going there again. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.
Hoop Dreams the podcast, an Unlearning Network production. Written and produced by Arthur Agee, Will Gates, Matt Hoffar, with audio engineering from Matt Savage. For more episodes, check us out at www.unlearningnetwork.com.
Gotta be a dog to survive in this cold weather. Ice in my veins, no need for a warm sweater. I'm coming for it all, best believe I won't let up, yeah. Hey, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me. Yeah, I think I'm ballin' like I'm Will Gates. I'm hoop dreaming, trying to fight against a sealed fate. More faith, think I'm ballin' like I'm Agee. I'm box office and one day they gon' have to pay me.